Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to the North Branch. Today I'm going to be taking you on a tour of our property, and I'm going to show you what it looks like in the winter and what I have to do when there's a bunch of snow on the ground. So a few days ago we got our first significant snowstorm of the year. I'm not sure exactly how much snow we got, but it's several inches, and there was a lot of icy rain before all this snow came down. So this snow is like really heavy and it's like drooping over a lot of our trees. Like our woods, it's crazy to be in the woods right now because like half the trees are like, the branches are compressed. Like all the pine trees that you would see, all the coniferous trees, all of their branches, which are usually like horizontal or pointed out, they're straight down towards the ground right now. First thing I had to do when this all happened was I had to go out and shake a bunch of trees off to clear our driveway off, because like there was literally trees, just they weren't down or anything, they were just completely drooped over our driveway, so you couldn't get a car up here to plow anything. So yeah, it's officially winter up here and we're in northern Wisconsin, so this is pretty much what this place is going to look like for the next few months. But there's still a lot to do. Like I kind of have some winter projects that are keeping me busy. If you saw my last video, I kind of started clearing this area on the south part of our 5 acres by our house here. I'm going to clear these woods out, or I guess technically thin them out, and keep a lot of the nicer oaks, maples, and cherries, and turn this whole place into silva pasture and run some animals through here. I'm keeping all the trees that we fell, I'm gonna turn them into fence posts, and the bigger trees that we're cutting down, like the bigger ash trees, my cousin is taking them down to the mill and we're milling them up into dimensional lumber, and we're going to try to build some chicken coops next year, some mobile chicken coops, some permanent sheep shelters, and I have a plan right now to build like a pole barn shed, like kind of just putting the poles into the ground and running some metal roofs on top. So I'm going to try to use all the trees that we're going to be cutting down to clear space for this pasture in my building projects next year. And I have a huge jump start on that. We have a huge pile of fence posts under all this snow already, and we have a bunch of these boards milled up, and we're like a quarter of the way through of all the trees we're going to be taking out here. So we're going to have a lot of lumber stored up, and this should be keeping me busy through the winter. The plan is to build some mobile chicken coops with that lumber, and then get some chickens and get them out here as soon as possible and kind of let them dig up the area, fertilize the soil, and then plant grass seed in behind them. So we'll see how that works. I've been trying to see if anyone's tried this before. We looked on YouTube and couldn't really find anything. Based on what the chickens, my meat birds, did in my blueberry patch last year, I think it would work really well, but that wasn't really forest floor like this is going to be, so we'll see how it goes. But across the street from where we're clearing for our pasture, I have my greenhouse here. So this is the new one that we built, and I know I'm a little biased, but this thing is beautiful. Like especially in the snow, like we painted it blue, and it has the cedar trim on the outside all over, and the bottom 2 feet's all cedar too, that my cousin milled up for us. It just looks so crisp and clean with the fresh cover of snow on it. It's awesome. I had to actually get out here and clear a bunch of snow off because like I said, it's really heavy snow, but it looked like it was holding up fine with under all that snow load. This is definitely the coolest thing I've ever built in my life, and I'm excited to get the beds all built inside of here and get everything set up later this winter, early spring of next year. And I'm really glad we got this done before the winter hit, so we can have it ready to go for next year. Because next year we're going to be really busy building all these, getting these chicken coops set up. We're going to be growing a bunch of food, and we're going to be converting this whole woods into pasture. So we're going to have our hands full. So on the other side of the greenhouse that we just built is our garden area. Not too much going on in here, obviously, like a lot of snow, but we do have some cold frames. I have some carrots in there. So I'm actually gonna run over right now and see how they're doing after this latest snowstorm. These are the cold frames that we made using like regular greenhouse plastic, like the wrap, not like the rigid hard plastic. So I'm curious to see how that stood up to the snowfall, especially with how heavy this snow is. Say they're working pretty well. Yeah, that soil is way too frozen to get something out right now. They all seem to be looking good though. They're all alive. And the carrots I could see from up top look to be in pretty good shape. But yeah, the garden looks good. One thing I would want to mention is this one A-frame greenhouse that we built in the middle of our garden here. We're actually planning on changing out this plastic. So it's corrugated plastic right now, and we're gonna change it to the plastic that we use to build our new greenhouse. It was just a lot better to work with, and it's gonna be a lot warmer. So we're gonna use the plastic from this A-frame greenhouse to build more cold frames. And because our rigid plastic cold frame that we built is really nice, it really turned out well, and it's just a lot better than using like the plastic sheeting or the plastic wrap greenhouse plastic, even though I'm actually very surprised with how well that stood up to having that snow pressure on it for a few days. So when our first snow hit a few days ago, I had to run out and clear the driveway off with all the trees that were hanging over, and then I had to run through and clear off all of our fencing, all of our 2x4 welded wire fencing that is surrounding our chicken run, our orchard, our garden, and my blueberry patch. Like, it was drooping really bad in a lot of spots, so I had to go through and give everything a kick and a jab and just kind of run a lap on everything and get everything cleared off, because there's a couple areas, especially in my blueberry patch, where I extended out the length in between the posts, the fence posts, and it was drooping pretty bad. And I wanted to get that cleared off right away because I want this fencing to last a really long time. So the next stop is our chicken run. So our run is set up right now to where there's a cattle panel greenhouse in my chicken run, and the run attaches to our orchard fencing, and there's a gate in there, and then they have access all day to the orchard, and there's another hoop house in there for them to hang out in. And they were kind of running back and forth all over here, and then when the snow really hit, I had to get out here and shovel them a path to each greenhouse, and then it just snowed more, so I was just kind of a wasted effort. But I got out here today, now that the snow's kind of done for a while at least, and I got them a good path shoveled to the cattle panel greenhouse in their run. Yeah, chickens are definitely a lot of work in the winter time. Like, as soon as I saw that there was snow, I had to run out here. I still had my shorts on, so I ran out here. Got a path shovel for them and some fresh water and food. It was just my first time ever having chickens in the snow, so I just wanted to make sure they were good. But they all seem to be doing well. A lot of my hens just started laying, so we're finally getting eggs from them. I have 10 hens and 1 rooster right now, and we're getting about 5 eggs a day, which is plenty. It's enough for breakfast every day for everyone. Yeah, the chickens are doing well. They have this cattle panel greenhouse where I'm throwing all my food waste from our local grocery store, and I threw a bunch of leaves in there, and I'm kind of hoping they turn that into compost over the winter, and I'll get that spread on fruit trees or in my orchard or wherever I need it next year. But yeah, I actually had to do a lot of work in this run before winter hit, and I'm glad I got it all done though, because it would have been a nightmare with what our flock and this run was like a few weeks ago even. I had to get rid of like 7 or 8 roosters and my geese. I had 2 geese, and they were just way too destructive and too mean to the chickens in here. Like, they chewed a huge hole in my cattle panel greenhouse, and it was just tough keeping them in here. So I had to like separate them for a while, and that was just a pain, and they eat so much. And it's tough when there's no grass for them to kind of eat on for a few months here coming up. And then it's just, they have a big food bill, and it just wasn't worth it. So I ended up selling the geese, all of my roosters, and my roosters are really putting a hurting on a lot of these hens. They were just trying to breed them, and there was just too many roosters in here. And as soon as I got them out of here, the next day we started getting eggs. So I don't think that's a coincidence. I think they were just putting a lot of pressure on them. But yeah, now that I got that figured out, I have 10 hens left and 1 rooster. And it's very chill and calm in our run now. There's not constant crowing from like the 10 roosters that were running around in here. And the 1 rooster that we kept is very chill, and he's very cool. He doesn't try to fight you whenever you're walking in here, so it was a lot of work to find someone to buy him and all that, but I'm really glad it happened. And the price we got from these roosters is enough for our feed bill through the winter. So it's all working out. This is my first experience with chickens in the snow, and I don't know, it's pretty funny watching them kind of run around. They get stuck. Oh, what? This girl just put one down right here. Not in the nesting box, but that's okay. Can I have it, babe? Can I have it? Can I have it? Thank you. Thank you. Oh, and I put another roost in here. There used to just be this roost on the side, and then one that spanned like the very top of the roof that kind of went from here all the way down on top of that one cross beam. It just wasn't a good design because they would just poop on the ones that were on this roost. So I got rid of that one, and I put another roost on the side here on both sides, and they still sit on this one. They love being up top on this. So there's still an area where they poop on this roost, like right in there, but it's not too bad. And they all sit down here and down here in the corner, and then some of them sit on top, so it works out really well. But yeah, it's really cool now that we're getting eggs, and it kind of made all this work this whole summer worth it. My younger flock is just starting to reach laying age. So we have like 5 hens, 5 or 6 laying right now, and we have another 4 or 5 just coming into age. So, and it's the winter time, so we're getting like 5 right now, so we should, like, I don't know, probably double that in the summer. Oh, what's up, buddy? But this is what the cattle panel looks like. It's just full of leaves and food scraps. I just got another load of food scraps from our local grocery store. I got to get thrown in here. It's kind of nice having this thing. They have a place to come hang out, forage for some food, build some compost. They don't have to stand in snow all day. Just had to shovel them a little path over here, and they're pretty happy. That's actually another reason why we're going to be building a few mobile coops and moving away from our permanent coops. We want to put our chickens to work more. We want to have them run through our garden, run through our orchard, our blueberry patch, everything, and this new pasture that we're trying to establish. So that's why we're going mobile coops, so we can kind of just wheel them to wherever we need them for the day, week, month, whatever. And when winter hits, which again is like 4 or 5 months of the year up here, when winter hits, I could just wheel them over to this greenhouse and just put a ramp right down to the door here, and they can just walk right down and be out of the snow and just hang out in this greenhouse all day. Because they still make it over here, but a lot of them want to stay in the coop all day, and I don't think they like the snow on their feet, but who knows. They still make it over there and they get out to eat and drink, but it would just be a lot better to have a mobile coop and just, when the snow hits, just set them up right on this greenhouse and let them hang out in there all day. So I'm following the trail that I dug out into our food forest here that goes all the way to our hoop house. The food forest is looking good. I just had to walk through here and shake off every single tree because they were just really hanging low, carrying all the weight from the snow. And other than that, there's not too much maintenance in here during the winter. The only thing I really have to do is prune all these trees. Everything is in a desperate need of pruning. I just have to really do the research and become a lot more comfortable with pruning and the rules and practices to follow and all that. Yeah, everything in here needs a good prune. I'm just, for some reason, I'm just so hesitant to like over prune and like kill a bunch of branches that would bear some fruit, but I know I'm just hurting them in the long run. And even last year, a lot of our apples had a fungus on them. I forget the name, I might look it up, but it had a fungus on them, and I read that it was still edible, but it was caused from poor sunlight and poor air ventilation, so pruning would fix both of those, or at least really help with that. And also, a lot of these trees that are surrounding our fence here on the outside are getting logged because we started logging, and we're in an MFL, which is a managed forest law program. And so in exchange for paying lower property taxes, we work with the Wisconsin DNR to come up with a logging plan. And the idea is we don't really clear cut or anything. We kind of just select cut the trees that come out of here, so it's kind of managed in a sustainable fashion. This year, the plan came up for all of this land to get logged, and they're taking out all the ash trees because the emerald ash borer is coming through, so we might as well get all the trees out before they just die in the next year or so anyway. And all of these trees surrounding this fence border here are ash trees, so they're all marked to get cut, and we're going to be getting a huge space here on the outside to plant more trees or pasture or whatever we want to do with it. But not only that, we're going to get a lot better sunlight in here. There's 2 ash trees right by our chicken coop that really shade out a lot, like this back row of our food forest, and they really shade out this plum tree in our back corner, and we didn't actually even get any plums from it last year. So I'm really hoping next year, when it has a lot more sunlight, it'll put on some fruit. But yeah, this whole thing is going to look a lot different in the next couple months. Another thing I wanted to mention about the logging. So how it works is we have a forester who works with the DNR. He comes through and marks everything and tallies up all the trees that are getting cut, and then he gets that approved by the DNR. He puts all those trees out to bid for logging companies and mills. And then the highest bidder, or we choose whoever we want to do business with, they come in, the mill that wins the bid contracts out a logging company. They come in, take all the trees out, get them to the mill, and everyone gets paid. But what's interesting is, so there's a bunch of little trees, like 6 inches in diameter, and there's just a lot of trees like those that get taken out for whatever reason. I'm not exactly sure. I'm not a logger or forester, but it's just like to, you know, have a certain amount of trees in an area, just it's shading out another tree, whatever the reason is. A lot of these trees that are 6 inches in diameter and shorter that kind of make like good poles, if you can imagine like a good fence post, something like that. A lot of these trees get taken out and they get turned into pulpwood, and we get paid nothing for pulpwood, and no one really does. It's just a lot of work, and I don't know the exact numbers or anything, but I think for a whole truckload of pulpwood, you get like $5 or something. Like, so that's, I don't know, that's a bunch of trees, and it's just like an entire truckload. You get like a couple bucks. So it's not worth it for them to really do the work, and it's not really worth it for us to get the payment. You know what I mean? It's just a lot of work for not a lot of money. So what our forester suggested, because he stops by, he kind of knows what we're doing here, trying to build up this garden and all that. So he said he's going to talk to our loggers and ask them to pile up a bunch of those 6-inch diameter poles and get a couple cords and kind of get a bid on that. So that's something we might be doing. And he said we can get a good price because, you know, you don't really get a lot of money for pulpwood, and it might be a little easier just to pile them up here in our yard instead of, you know, selling them to a pulp mill. So that's something that could happen in the future, and that would be very interesting because for like a very good price, we can get piles and piles of you know, those 8-foot, 6-inch diameter tree logs, and those could come in handy in pretty much everything we're doing here. If we need to expand a fence, build something, raise beds, mill them up for lumber. We'll probably not mill them up, but you know what I mean? A lot of different uses can come from that. But I talked to the logger, he said that's not gonna happen until like they're kind of done with everything, and you'll go back through and kind of pick everything up, but we'll see. But either way, a lot of stuff's going on here, and after this winter, we could have our lumber supply for years and years to come. So it could be very cheap for us moving forward to build a lot of very cool things. But one idea we're kind of kicking around right now is building like a huge shed or barn type thing, and using some trees that we cut down from this forest that we're thinning out, and saving a bunch of those and putting them in the ground and running logs in between and kind of framing out a roof and putting some metal sheets on top. And that's what we're going to be doing for a lot of different structures. Like, I want to build a permanent sheep structure in each of those paddocks that we're going to be making in pasture. How we're going to be building a lot of different things now is just putting poles into the ground, framing out a roof on top, and putting some metal sheets on top of that. And I actually just took a trip down. I got a very good deal on metal sheets on Facebook Marketplace. It was quite the drive, but that's just what it is when you live as remote as we do. But took a long time to get down there, but I got a bunch of sheets that are in very good shape for a very good price. And those are sitting in my garage right now on top of the lumber that we just milled up. So we're gonna be building a lot of cool things with the logs we're taking out of here next year. And if we get all these cords of lumber from the logger, that would just make everything so much easier. And we would have years and years of building material. But yeah, that's what winter looks like on our homestead. Not too much we can do. We're limited with the amount of snow we get every year, and we have like 8-10 inches right now, and we're only going to get more, it looks like, going forward. And it's going to get real cold next week, so it'll be interesting to see how the chicken is doing that. We're finally getting eggs. I have some carrots I'm going to try to figure out how to get out of these raised beds that we have. Other than that, we're felling trees, clearing forest, trying to establish some silvopasture, and getting all those trees and everything that we're felling organized into either firewood for my cousin, logs that we're gonna mill into dimensional lumber, or fence posts and smaller logs for anything else that we're gonna need.